The Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that I've slowly become a huge fan of over the past few years. And for obvious reasons, that man Anthony Edwards has been putting on a show. I just think that they're missing one thing to truly become contenders. That is a point guard, ladies and gentlemen. They have all the tools and intangibles to make it to the NBA Finals and compete for a championship. They're just missing that point guard. What's good, everybody? It's your boy KP, man. We're back with another video, and I'm here to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves and moves they should probably make at the trade deadline. We all know that they are part of the 4 or 5 teams that are in contention for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Regardless if Giannis is traded at the deadline or if the Bucks opt to wait until the offseason to move Giannis, the Timberwolves are in desperate need of making a move for a guard at this trade deadline. Even if you have a different NBA team that you root for, it's been hard to go against the Timberwolves. It's been hard not to notice what they've been building over in Minnesota. They have been to the conference finals the past 2 seasons. They knocked off the defending champion Denver Nuggets a couple of seasons ago. Unfortunately, in their first conference finals, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks, who went on to lose to the Boston Celtics in the finals. That was very unfortunate. That's when they really got put on the map, and that was the same year that they took the Denver Nuggets, the defending champions at the time, to Game 7. And this past year, I believe they lost to the Thunder 4-1. They were no match against OKC, just how they were no match against Luka Doncic and the Mavericks. And Anthony Edwards is one of those ones, but when you're in the playoffs and you're the focal point of the defense and you don't necessarily have options and you're constantly at the top of the key where the entire offense can see you and read what you're trying to do, and they can just focus on you, that is bad basketball for the playoffs. It's always best for players like Anthony Edwards to kind of play naturally on the wing and not necessarily facing the entire defense, similar to the issues James Harden has always had on his teams. He's done great in the regular season, but come playoffs, it's just an easy offense to read. With that being said, I think we all can agree that the missing piece for the Timberwolves is a point guard. Right now, Anthony Edwards is averaging 29.4 points per game. He's pretty much trailing only a few players when it comes to points per game. Rudy Gobert has returned to form as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. But as you can see from this screen, Julius Randle is leading the team in assists at 5.4. And I love the way Julius Randle has been playing this year. He's playing so much better than he did when he originally joined the team last year. But you can't expect to have a successful offense and a successful team when Julius Randle is leading your team in assists. That stat proves the point. And there were talks about the Timberwolves making a trade for Ja Morant, but I think they would just have to gut their depth. They would have to gut half their team and key players for a playoff run just to get Ja Morant, in hopes of it working out with Anthony Edwards. And people love to pair superstars with superstars, but I think we start to see that dwindle a little bit in the NBA, and realizing that just because 2-star players come together, that doesn't guarantee a championship. It's more about continuity and how your team plays and performs and delivers under pressure. That pretty much is out the window if you ask me. Here's an article from Yahoo Sports referring to 3 players who won't be traded unless it's a blockbuster deal for a star. While teams across the league have called on Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, and Dante DiVincenzo, league sources say the Timberwolves have highly valued those players and are resistant to parting with them, reported Scotto. McDaniels has been deemed virtually untouchable unless it's for a star such as Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, this video isn't necessarily about Giannis going to the Timberwolves. It's more so about what moves could the Timberwolves make if Giannis is off the table or if a deal really doesn't make sense. The Timberwolves find themselves in an awkward spot in today's game where we're playing positionless basketball. We're seeing so many different types of variations of players playing the point guard position, or teams just allowing any player to bring the ball up and start the offense. That is a great brand of basketball to play, but when it comes down to creativity and playmaking, I don't think the Timberwolves necessarily have the capabilities on their roster affecting wins, especially when it comes to a playoff run. When you look at this team, the only player that can create for themselves consistently is Anthony Edwards. Yes, Julius Randle can go get you a bucket, but I wouldn't necessarily call him a playmaker, and he's known to be a black hole. I think he's fixed some of those issues this year and has played more team basketball, and that's a huge part of their success. but you prefer those guys to be on the receiving end of someone else's creativity. And yes, Anthony Edwards should be a more so of a tertiary creator. We've seen how he's gotten hedged and triple teamed in the playoffs. And when he gives the ball up to someone else that doesn't know how to create their own shot, it just ruins the whole flow of the offense, especially when the shot clock is dwindling down. And then you see a player like Julius Randle or a player like Jaden McDaniels or someone like Mike Conley just chuck up a three, especially Nas Reed for sure. And if they go in, great. But if they don't go in, it's just bad basketball. It's just bad. It's just bad for this team in general. And when you look at teams that have a plethora of point guards, the Chicago Bulls are one of the first teams that come to mind. I read an article about how they should pursue Trey Jones or Ayo Dosunmu. Trey Jones being more of a veteran point guard player, but he is a bit undersized, but I do think he is a true point guard. This would be someone that you can kind of bring off the bench, but I wouldn't necessarily trust him starting in a playoffs against a Thunder or a Denver team. Ayo Dosunmu has a lot more size and a lot more defensive tenacity, and he's a great driver on offense, but I don't really trust his shot. I don't know if he has the experience to be more so reliable when the pressure hits. So I don't see this being a really great trade scenario for the Timberwolves, especially if they want to get over the hump. If they just want to make a piece just to fill in some of the gaps, then cool, make a trade for one of those players. I don't think it moves the needle much. When you look at the Timberwolves and their play style and their roster construction, and then you look at the league and try to map out available guards that will, one, be available to be traded from their teams, and two, will be able to fit on the team and up their level of play in the playoffs, and number three, would you be able to trade for this player without giving up some of your key players? Colin Sexton is the player that comes to mind. And I read an article that agreed with this standpoint, but in that article, there were some concerns about the Timberwolves not willing to part with Mike Conley or Donte DiVincenzo, even for a player like Colin Sexton. And it kind of scratched my head a little bit, to be honest with you. As well as Donte DiVincenzo has been playing, I'd be more than happy to give him up for a player like Colin Sexton. They don't call that guy the Bull for no reason. This year, Colin Sexton is averaging 14.4 points per game, 1.9 rebounds per game, 3.8 assists, shooting 48.8% from the field, and I believe he's around 38% from three. When you compare that to Donte DiVincenzo, the points per game is about the same. Donte averages a little bit more rebounds per game, and they're close to the same on assists per game, but DiVincenzo is shooting 41.3% from the field and also shooting 38.2% from the three. So you wouldn't necessarily be losing that efficiency on the three ball, but you will be gaining some efficiency when it comes to field goal percentage. And Colin Sexton loves to get downhill. He loves to attack the basket. I'm a huge fan of Donte DiVincenzo, but I see that he settles for a lot of threes and a lot of pull-up jumpers instead of attacking the basket. And let's not get me started on Colin Sexton being a point of attack defender. Imagine having Colin Sexton guarding Shea, and then you can put Jaden McDaniels on Jalen Williams, and then Anthony Edwards can just guard whoever he wants to preserve some energy on offense. Just think about that potential in the playoffs. Also, Donte DiVincenzo's PER is around 13.8. Colin Sexton's PER is around 18.1. So that just shows a different level of efficiency and impacting winning and impacting the game. Obviously, with him being on the Charlotte Hornets, he's not impacting so much winning, which is also why the Hornets should be more than willing to give up Colin Sexton for a player like Donte DiVincenzo, especially when there's not too much drop off, especially when you're not really competing for a championship. But the caveat would be them getting an extra asset for giving the Timberwolves Colin Sexton. And what is that extra asset, you ask? Rob Dillingham. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Trade is successful. Right here it says the Timberwolves lose -3 wins. When you combine the fact that Rob Dillingham isn't getting much burn on the team, Bones Highland has basically soaked up every possible minute that he could get outside of garbage time, and the fact that he kind of seems out of place on the team with their aspirations. And when you think about the history of You think about the history of the Hornets, they've always had success playing a smaller guard next to LaMelo Ball and someone who's able to just focus more on scoring and a little bit of facilitating while LaMelo Ball just does his thing. I don't see it as a bad fit. You could bring him off the bench and insert him for LaMelo Ball, or you can bring him off the bench and allow him to play with LaMelo Ball. And you're getting back DiVincenzo in this deal, so from the Hornets perspective, you're really not getting that big of a drop-off by giving up Colin Sexton. And as you can see on the screen, Colin Sexton has 1 year left on his deal. DiVincenzo has 2. Maybe the Hornets don't do this because they prefer Colin Sexton's salary to fall off the books this season, but I don't think they can pass up on taking a chance on Rob Dillingham, selling some more tickets, giving him an opportunity to shine with LaMelo Ball bench. And then DiVincenzo is just a solid veteran at this point that can put up buckets and contribute to the team, especially when LaMelo is injured and you need some extra firepower. It's not a bad deal in my opinion. And clearly Mike Conley's play isn't the factor when it comes to him being untouchable. I think it's more so about his veteran presence, what he means to the organization, what he contributes to that locker room, and the fact that his career is almost over and they're this close to getting over the hump. I don't think the Timberwolves do him dirty like that at the tail end of his career. I think they keep him on this team to try to make that push. I think the youngsters even want to maximize the time that Conley has playing basketball. I recall Anthony Edwards mentioning that the first time they made the conference finals. And he was like, I feel more bad for Mike Conley, man. We wanted to do it for Mike, bro. He ain't got much time left. Which is one of the reasons why I love him, man, because he keeps it a buck. Whether it makes you uncomfortable or not, it's true. These are things that people don't want to say, and if they do say it, they try to say it in a sugar-coated way. He gets straight to the point. The Timberwolves are currently sitting 5th in the West right now, and that's thanks to their 4-game winning streak. They're possibly going to turn it into a 5-game winning streak tomorrow as they face Memphis again. But that's not secure enough, in my opinion, when you're in the West. I imagine the Timberwolves are not going to trade Julius Randle, Naj Reid, or Jaden McDaniels unless it's for a player like Giannis. But I also kind of think that Giannis being traded by the deadline is a little hard to pull off, man. And their only competition really is the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks. And out of those 3 teams, I think Miami can offer a better package for Giannis. I think the Timberwolves should take a hard look at Colin Sexton. Do I think he's the best fit for what they need on the team? Not necessarily, but is he the best fit that could possibly become available? Yes. Can he help this team get over the hump with playoff basketball where all the small plays matter? Yes. Let me know if I'm tripping or not. Do you think the team should go all in on Giannis or nothing and just stand pat and see what the team does in the playoffs? Do you think that they should make a move for Colin Sexton? Do you think the Colin Sexton trade makes sense? Do you think that there's another guard that's available that will make more sense for this team? Do you think that the Timberwolves are just going to make a minimal deal and see what happens? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for rocking out with me. Stay tuned for more content, and peace.